The first new version of Arknights Endfield is about to come, and we're introduced with two new banners in Tangtang and Rossi. Considering there are also some fan favorites that we know a lot of people are waiting for being shown in the story sneak peeks, today though we'll be breaking down the coming new characters and banners to help you decide if you should pull them right away or skip them and save them for the future characters. Use the timestamps for convenience, and with that said, let's get into it. The first banner that will come will be Tangtang, and to start with a summary, Tangtang is a caster that plays a role of a cryo support / sub DPS with SP generation, art susceptibility, and cryo infliction in her kit. Her combo skill spawns whirlpools on the field, which are these blue glowy blocks that drops after a combo lands. And with her battle skill, it'll consume these whirlpools to spawn multiple water spouts that inflict cryo infliction, art susceptibility, and returns some SP for you. Her ultimate is an interesting one, which spawns an area that completely stops an enemy. Do note that this works even against bosses, so it's one of the biggest value on her. By ending her ult prematurely with a dive attack, you can even spawn a water spout from your battle skill right after your ult ends, which also applies cryo infliction. With that idea, she'll be best fit in teams that are mostly cryo element that exist currently, which would include teams like Yvonne and Last Ride. Both very much utilizes cryo infliction and benefit off of art susceptibility. With the summary out the way, let's dive deeper into Tangtang's kit. Her basics are normal 5 sequence hits, and yeah, nothing crazy with that. Her battle skill though is where it gets interesting. She dives underground, which we're not sure if she's invincible while this happens, and after that she will attack an enemy at close range and create a water spout that spins around the enemy. This will apply cryo infliction to any enemy within range while dealing cryo damage over time. Now if you only have one water spout, it will only apply cryo infliction, but the skill can consume nearby whirlpools to spawn even more water spouts. And if that happens, not only you apply cryo infliction, you'll also allow all water spouts to apply art susceptibility to enemies too. This makes it obvious how you would use her. You want to maximize whirlpools on the field first, then get the skill off, and that way you're able to enjoy all the benefits. Speaking of which, here's how you spawn the whirlpools, which is through her combo skill. Her combo skill triggers when you apply cryo infliction or deal arts burst damage to an enemy. You'll attack enemies in front and deal cryo damage while creating a whirlpool that lasts for some time. With the help of a talent, the enemies around the whirlpool will also be applied with a slow debuff, while allied operators get a movement speed boost. You do not apply cryo infliction with this combo skill, just do take note of that. And yep, the idea is simple. Use her skill after this combo to turn a whirlpool into a water spout, and you'll be able to apply art susceptibility on top of cryo infliction with them. Now then, let's take a look at her ultimate, which spawns an area of effect which pauses enemies entirely, even including boss enemies. It also deals cryo damage over time, and once it ends, a big wave crashes down on the area and deal massive cryo damage. This ult is already very helpful with stopping jumpy enemy bosses, and it sets up new teams very well so the boss wouldn't jump around when your, say, Yvonne is trying to shoot at them. It's actually a very valuable effect, especially for Yvonne. Now then, Tangtang's second talent actually allows you to perform a dive attack within the ult's area in order to end it prematurely, and you'll instantly see it do the rogue wave damage. When done this way, you'll also spawn one water spout while converting any nearby whirlpools to more water spouts. It's just like using your battle skill again, where you will be inflicting cryo infliction with the water spouts and art susceptibility if you manage to spawn multiple water spouts. This actually opens up to so many ways for you to use Tangtang in multiple different teams, but generally though, being able to use the dive attack to make a cryo infliction happen again is definitely always good for cryo teams, but you can definitely just not use the dive attack at all to maybe not mistakenly have the cryo infliction consume a different type of art infliction. That gives her a lot of versatility in her kit. And with that said, her role is quite clear. Tangtang is likely the better replacement for Alesh in most cryo team setups on paper, given her ability to generate SP, apply cryo infliction more consistently, and even provide art susceptibility, something Alesh certainly lacks. However though, since her numbers are not released yet, we aren't exactly sure, and in the case where Tangtang actually has really high art susceptibility, you could even say you could replace gilberta with Tangtang just for the art susceptibility and still keep Alesh with more SP regen and more cryo infliction. One of the best teams in mind would involve Tangtang, Yvonne, Zaihi, and gilberta. The consistent cryo infliction is awesome for Yvonne, and the time stop effect on Tangtang's ultimate is the best ally to help Yvonne's consistency on her ultimate, just to make sure she lands every shot without waste. Another idea is to just use both Tangtang and Alesh in the same team, with Tangtang replacing gilberta's spot. It is what's shown in her combat demo, which definitely technically still works. We're not sure if Tangtang has better susceptibility compared to gilberta, but well, I doubt it though personally. However, regardless of that case, with this team setup, you will gain ridiculous SP regeneration and way more cryo infliction as a whole, and it will be a team that feels awesome to play. Another premier way to utilize Tangtang will be in a Last Ride general team to continuously and consistently get cryo inflictions to be applied helping Lash Right do her combo skill much more often and have a comfortable rotation in a longer fight. Outside of that, she may fit in some niche solidification shatter team of Estella, but generally she's an overall upgrade in consistency and potentially damage ceiling for a lot of cryo teams. It will depend on the multipliers on the susceptibility, which will likely still be a solid amount, but I do doubt it just suddenly beats out gilberta, right? With all that said, should you pull Tangtang, you ask? I will start with the only correct answer, which is to pull for who you love to play with. There's no reason to sweat it. The game's not nearly old enough for you to over-plan too much, and the current endgame is not too difficult anyway. Now, if I were to give the pure meta chaser an answer instead, Tangtang is not at all a must pull, at least with the info we have so far. You already have good enough teams built for any endgame. It doesn't justify spending resources on her unless you really love her. But from a more casual standpoint, Tangtang is a really good addition for Yvonne mains that just want to have an easier time shooting at bosses with the time stop, with simpler mechanics and timings involved. Plus, Tangtang herself will also provide good damage output on top of supporting the main nuker. Tangtang is also solid for Lash Right, especially to have an easier time getting last hits on bosses while providing very consistent cryo infliction. She may be an overall increase in damage for a Lash Right based on how much susceptibility she brings to the table, so it's honestly not a bad option for cryo team mains to just bring up the ceiling even more, or at the very least increase the consistency. My own personal answer for myself is that I'll be pulling, since I'm a massive Lash Right main and fan, so yeah, let me know what your answer is in the comments though. I'd love to know. With Tangtang's banner out the way, we then see Rossi as the next straight up banner right after, and let's just start with a summary. Rossi is a physical guard that plays the role of a vulnerability applier, and she's both a heat element and physical element single target damage dealer with even some supportive capabilities, plus she even has a heat infliction on her ultimate. That sounds like literally way too many things for one character to do, but that's what Rossi's capable of. You see, she has different damage output in her kit. Some of her kit outputs heat damage and some of her kit outputs physical damage, making her a jack of multiple trades, but that also comes with the need for thought on how to maximize her potential fully without diluting her kit. Her entire idea starts with triggering her combo, which requires an enemy to be applied with both an art's infliction and vulnerability all at once. Then she can apply up to 2 vulnerabilities and want to use her skill to apply another one. That's an easy 3 vulnerabilities applied from one character, pretty solid for physical teams. Her battle skill is where she inflicts a special claw mark effect on the enemy, which continuously deals physical damage based on her attack. The enemy also receives increased physical and heat damage, and it's where her supportive capabilities are apparent for the whole team. Her ultimate deals high heat damage and can apply heat infliction on the last hit, so yeah, she literally does so many things. Along with all those ideas, you can think of using her as a physical status character, or maybe do something with the heat infliction on her ult for some arts reaction, or maybe somehow use her in a heat team fully. There are a lot of options. Generally though, she seems more like a physical status character than a heat character, but she can do both to different extents. And to understand where she's most suited in, let's just dive into her full kit. To start us off, it's her basics. It's pretty normal, 5 sequences, you know the drill. Her battle skill has 2 sequences. The first simply deals physical damage and applies lift. The second sequence happens if the target already has vulnerability, and that second sequence inflicts additional follow-up physical damage, while also applies the Razor Claw Mark effect to the target for a period of time. Based on her talent, the Razor Claw Mark effect will deal continuous physical damage based on Rossi's attack. More importantly, the enemy receives increased physical and heat damage, helping Rossi deal even more damage herself and even for the whole team as a whole. Now to look at her second talent, it is mentioned that it will activate if Rossi scores a crit to an enemy with the Claw Mark effect. She'll trigger an extra instance of damage while also obtaining some healing for herself. This damage and the healing will be increased if the target's combusted. This means someone like Wolfguard that can land combustion on the ultimate can be very suitable for her, just like how they are an absolute badass combo in the story. Moving up next is Rossi's combo skill, which is pretty interesting. You can trigger it if the enemy has both vulnerability and arts infliction at the same time. This combo skill also has 2 sequences. The first simply deals physical damage, and the second consumes all arts infliction stacks from the target, dealing physical damage based on the stacks consumed, and applies lift to the target. Based on the damage that she could do by consuming higher stacks, you may want to maximize this with a team that really has a lot of inflictions, but at the very least though, it is important to know she consumes art infliction. It might be good to utilize this as sort of arts infliction sponge in order to get rid of a wrong infliction on the team and still let the rest of the team shine well without consuming any of their inflictions by mistake. Rossi also gains increased crit rate and crit damage from this combo skill, so it looks like she actually benefit a lot off of critting. What's interesting is though, the second sequence of her combo has a timing ring that converges. If you click it when it turns gold, you apply 1 more stack of vulnerability on the second sequence on top of the 1 lift effect. This is her bread and butter as a vulnerability inflictor in a physical team, and her main gameplay will revolve revolve around getting her combo ready to maximize the vulnerabilities in her kit, and she'll be able to get 3 very quickly with just her combo and her skill. It's pretty solid to set up for a good crush. Next off is Rossi's ultimate, and this is where she mainly deals her damage. It deals multiple hits of heat damage to what looks to be a single enemy in a short time, with the last hit applying 1 stack of heat infliction. This ultimate also deals increased crit damage when it is a critical hit. This points Rossi towards being a character that lands vulnerability for say an Endmin to crush for fun, and still have enough potential to do massive heat damage from her ultimate right after, specifically by critting and also while it's boosted by the clawmark effect on the enemy. With all that in mind, her best teams will be quite interesting to think about because of just how many different things she can do. I bet you can find a lot of niche options for her, but generally speaking, one of her best teams should be a mix of physical and heat characters. The team would likely consist of Rossi, an Endmin, or the Pad, while the rest of the team will be various physical status characters and heat characters that can apply arts infliction or combustion right away. One of the examples would be Wolfguard. The reason for Wolfguard being a choice in the team at all is for its easy combustion on his ult and consistent heat infliction to activate Rossi's combo and talents. Then you'll easily get multiple vulnerabilities out of her, spend them with Endmin's crush, end with Rossi's ult damage, and with that you'll achieve a team that wields both physical damage output and heat damage output without overly diluting any of the two. In the combat demo, they did show an example of using Rossi with gilberta as well in an AoE scenario, and that will be one of her solid ally as well, since gilberta comes with nature infliction, a lift effect on her combo, and the strongest art susceptibility to boost Rossi's ultimate. Remember when I mentioned Rossi's able to absorb an infliction and convert it to basically vulnerability? Do remember Rossi's able to take away an art's infliction and apply vulnerability instead. She's kind of a sponge that could absorb this one wrong infliction, and gilberta's nature infliction could be the one infliction that sometimes mess up a lot of teams, but I can think about just using the nature infliction as a fodder to be consumed by Rossi's combo. In any case though, all of these team setups mostly utilize Rossi as a physical vulnerability applier while maximizing her heat damage on the ultimate right after. You can expect her to open up new styles of physical teams, but whether or not she can overtake or join the strongest mono physical setups or maybe mono heat teams, we'll have to wait for testing. Would she just be a mixed bag in between all the others, or would she end up being meta defining? That's a question we have to wait for her numbers to see. Now there are also ideas exploring using Rossi as more of a heat team character for say Levitate. While it is an interesting idea since Levitate technically also applies combustion on an enhanced skill to help Rossi's talent, but the challenge with that team is that it would be quite difficult to set up a whole physical damage output line within Levitate's rotation and team. You might not be able to utilize all the vulnerability stacks at all, and even if you do, chances are it may be less intuitive of a team with high SP usage on all fronts. But hey, I'll be testing them all out when they do release, so do follow the channel for all of that if you'd like. Some other characters that are worth mentioning that could work really well with Rossi and Endmin together would be someone like Chen Qianyu and gilberta as a team, or maybe just a simple Akikuri plus Wolfguard, with Akikuri being the general buffer to help increase damage with some heat infliction to boot. Using more heat related characters may lower the physical front of her damage output, but it might increase the heat damage front, so it's a likely chance if you want to leverage Rossi, you want to be able to find a perfect balance between both archetypes of her kit. Now the question of should you pull Rossi? I'll show you the best answer again, pull for who you love, it's not that deep. Now for a pure meta answer, Rossi is not a guaranteed must pull at all since you can already clear all endgame. For a more casual answer though, I recommend players that would love to try out a potentially high damage ceiling physical / heat team where you'll be running physical characters and heat characters in a single team while dealing physical crush damage with Rossi applying vulnerability and inflicting increased physical and heat damage on enemies. Then you end with a high heat damage nuke from Rossi's crit on the ultimate. So instead of a pure physical nuke or a pure heat team nuke, you now see a mix of both damage output. How high the ceiling could go though depends on her multipliers on release, but overall I think the general value of Rossi depends on how much you can leverage her on both her physical side and her heat damage side. My personal recommendation for this one is actually to wait for the next version's preview since she's on phase 2. They'll help you make a better informed planning to see if you'd rather pull someone else in the future version. Overall though, again, she's not a must pull in my opinion. With the new characters out the way, now we should mention what potential future characters could be, and we already know one of the fan favorites in Zhuangfang Yi. We do see the really cool looking Arknights here, and along with some other characters as well that will come soon. Do remember that pulling for who you love is just definitely the best way to go though. And in general, it looks like this combination of new banners is certainly not a guaranteed you have to pull or fall behind type of characters. So straight up saving and then waiting for like the big characters like Fang Yi or our Darkshire is looking up to be could be a really good option for you. But as mentioned, you want to wait for more information from potential future previews of future versions, then you can make the best informed decision. And that'll be all. I hope I helped you out in breaking down some of these unique kits, and do let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to know. Take care.